Hundreds of runners lining up on the streets of Ras Al Khaimah for this start. With very good organisation, it's a very, very flat course.
The RAK Half International Half Marathon has attracted a record number of entrants.
It's a fabulous mass finish here once again in Ras Al Khaimah. Glorious conditions.
Let's start the race of RAK Half Marathon.
Hello and welcome to Ras Al Khaimah for the 11th edition of one of the world's most prestigious half marathons. For a decade, the best in the business have been coming here in search of fast times and fast finishes. We've had a little bit of everything over the last 10 years. Olympic champions, world record holders. They've been here gracing the roads and the podiums, and 2017 looks set to be just as good. We've got a cracking men's elite field assembled. They start at 7 o'clock with the masses. 3,500 runners here who'll be very much looking forward to their adventure on the streets. And as far as the elite women's race is concerned, wow. I am delighted to be joined by Olympian and commentator Tim Hutchings, who'll be overseeing the action from the commentary box. And Tim, you've been here for almost every single edition of the Ras Al Khaimah Half Marathon. Once again, as it always does, the best have been attracted here.
Well, that's right. But, you know, in the first year, they had almost a world record here back in 2007. And since then, the reputation of this race has been building year on year for fast times, great organisation, perfect conditions, and you don't get that too often, and great competition as well. So the elite athletes, the world record holders, the best in the world, love to come back.
What a way to kickstart, though, 10 years ago with the late Sami Wanjiru. That was quite some win in 2007.
It was. Sami Wanjiru was an incredibly special athlete. I mean, here he is winning in 2007. It was pretty unexpected, sprinting to the line. It would have been a world record if we'd had drug testing on the day, but the race wasn't set up for it. It was so unexpected. Of course, just over a year later, he became the Olympic champion for the marathon in Beijing. But Sami Wanjiru is no longer with us, I'm afraid. Of course, every year, in a way, is a kind of salute to his greatness.
Of course, he's sadly missed, and that win in Beijing was fantastic over the marathon. Back to RAK. Let's fast forward to 2014. You were in the commentary box. 8 men inside the hour. Just put into context how staggering that is.
Well, it's not very many years ago when an hour hadn't been broken for the half marathon, so to get 1 or 2 people doing it in the same race was special. To get 8 doing it in the one competition here in Ras Al Khaimah in 2014 was in effect a world record of sorts. It takes great pacemaking, good conditions, of course, a really aggressive attitude from the elite athletes, and that's what we saw on that particular day. They came through a long way under 60 minutes, and you can see conditions were perfect on that day. A slight breeze, which is not necessarily a bad thing when the heat begins to climb a little bit. But these athletes train for months and months, very, very hard indeed, and they want to fulfill their potential when they do race.
Okay, so those are 2 of the great moments as far as the men's race is concerned. The women have produced some absolutely sublime performances and some great racing over the last 10 years. We're delighted to have Mary Keitany back for another crack at a RAK title number 4. But let's rewind to 2011 and that world record run.
Well, Mary on that day really got the bit between her teeth. She's a tiny character, but she's got real fire in her belly. She attacked the world record with good male pacemakers, crashed through the line there in 65.50. It was the first official world record here in Ras Al Khaimah, 6 years ago now. Mary is back to have a go at a 4th title, but my word, has she got her work cut out.
Well, that was an incredible run from Mary, a solo effort. Last year was my first experience of the Ras Al Khaimah Half Marathon. The women's race, the strength in depth was incredible. 6 under 67 minutes. That was, well, it was a record, wasn't it, of sorts?
There aren't many women in history who have gone on 67 minutes, never mind about 6 in the same race. Cynthia Limo came home to take the title. With this win, just outside 66 minutes, she became the 3rd fastest athlete in history. Behind her, there were some really huge scalps. Perez Jepchirchir amongst them, who's back today. 6 weeks after the race here last year, Perez, there she is, went on to take the World Half Marathon title in Cardiff.
It was a fantastic performance from all of those leading women 12 months ago, and we'll talk in a little bit about the elite women's field for today. But let's just remind you of the list of male winners over the last 10 years and the times that it took them to finish on top here. It's a who's who. Well, we're getting the women's historical times first. I mean, it's just a staggering list here, isn't it?
It is indeed, yes. Interesting that you can see the last time Dartune won, or an Ethiopian won, was back in 2009. But Mary Kaitani's name is there several times. Of course, Priska Jeptu is a great marathon champion as well. Elvan Abela Gesse, a world record holder on the track and a national record there for Turkey back in 2010. Every year there seems to be something special kicked up in the women's race.
What about the men's winners over the years? I mean, we started with Sami Wanjiru running inside 59 minutes. We haven't always seen the men's winner running inside 60, but when it has been outside 60 minutes, we've had 3 or 4 finishing within 2 or 3 seconds.
Well, I'm always a little loath to talk about records and very, very fast times because the primary quality you want to promote and which is sustainable is great racing. Patrick McCow winning a couple of times in very fast clockings. In 2009, that was the course record, 58.52. The Kenyans have dominated, of course, although the Ethiopians are in there very often as well. But that is a who's who. Jeffrey Kipsang, former world record holder in the marathon. Jeffrey Mutai, New York champion in the marathon. I mean, they've all been here.
Okay, we can see the club runners and fun runners warming up. Local time, it's just gone 6:40. We're expecting the elite women to get going in just under 3 or 4 minutes' time. And Tim, as we are now beginning to mention the elite women, you know, journalists and broadcasters and fans of distance running, as you and I are sometimes prone to exaggerate great fields, but this really is the greatest ever female race assembled over 13.1.
Well, there are 4 athletes in particular who stand out in the ladies' race today, who I think have never met before in competition. Foremost amongst them, I suppose we have to pay respect, of course, to Tirunesh Dibaba, the greatest distance runner in history. She's a 3-time Olympic champion, 9-time world champion. Tirunesh in very, very confident form and saying she's fully back and recovered from childbirth just over a year ago. She got a bronze medal in Rio in a new personal best for 10,000 metres, but I think she would not have come here unless she was very ready. Perez Jepchirchir, the reigning world champion from Cardiff over the half marathon, is in great shape. Mary Kaitani, 3-time champion, we've already mentioned, 3-time New York champion. She has a marathon runner's strength as well, of course.
And talking about Kaitani, her record over the half marathon is, well, it's almost ridiculous. She last lost a race over the half marathon 10 years ago. That is an incredible record in an event as brutal as this.
Yeah, I mean, Mary's a tough competitor. You know, 35 now, she's very experienced, she's been there and done it, but she still enjoys her running, she still trains hard. She will need to watch out for Jemima Sungong, that's the other, the 4th member of the quartet, the Olympic champion from Rio in the marathon. She won the London Marathon as well. Last year she came here and finished in 6th place, but then went to London a few weeks later and took the title and then topped that with the gold at the Olympic Games in Brazil. So that quartet is very, very special indeed, and I do so hope we get a wonderful race out of it. I think that's almost guaranteed. Quick times would be a bonus.
Of the 4 athletes, is there a slight doubt over Perez Jepchirchir? Obviously, no disrespect to her. She's the reigning world half marathon champion and won 3 other cracking races last year, but she is still recovering from pneumonia.
Yeah, Perez had 3 months of illness last year towards through the autumn, I guess you could say, the 3rd quarter of the year probably, and was well beaten in Delhi back in November. But talking to her yesterday at the press conference, she said she's fully recovered, she's fit, she's ready for this, and I don't think she'd have been allowed to come here and expose herself against competition of this calibre if she wasn't ready. Well, let's have a look at the race village where the hundreds of keen mass runners are finalising their preparations, both for the half marathon and the team relay challenge. Energy levels are palpable.
But why are you here? I thought I would try a half marathon. I haven't tried it before, so one of my friends talked me into it last year, and they said the RAK Half Marathon was one of the best ones to do, so I thought I'll give it a go.
We are from UCRC, UAE Chinese Running Club, and we regularly participate in the local race events.
So you organised the team. This is your first RAK Half Marathon?
Not first. This is about the third time. Yeah, this is a good place, fantastic place for running. The track is very nice.
Okay, well, the athletes are getting ready on the start line. Tim has to make his way towards the commentary box. I will be joining him very, very soon. There are the elite women on the start line. Remember, we have the reigning World Half Marathon champion, Perez Chepchirchir, the reigning Olympic Marathon champion, Jemima Sumgong. There's Mary Kaitani, wearing 51 in the pink vest, second fastest athlete in history over the marathon and half marathon. And the 9-time world champion and triple Olympic champion, the greatest female distance runner in history, Tirunesh Dibaba. What a lineup. I know you'll be looking forward to this race. We have been all week. The eyes of the distance running world descend on Ras Al Khaimah for what could be a very special race indeed.
Lined up. It's the first time there has been a separate ladies start here in Ras Al Khaimah. Usually there's a mixed start, and indeed this is in effect a mixed race anyway for the rules of the sport, because the ladies will have male pacemakers, and in fact the sport of distance running on the roads quite often quotes different records for the mixed races or ladies only races, but this of course is a mixed race with those male pacemakers out there. The ladies just limbering up, getting ready to go. Engines revving in effect, very, very fast. This course, hard to think of anything other than a very, very tiny incline at any point. It's been measured to the millimetre virtually over the last couple of days. 2 official measurers are here. And wonderful to see His Highness Sheikh Saud bin Saka Al Kazimi join us this morning. Welcome, Your Highness. Just in time to see those ladies off. Well, we are seconds away from the start, ladies and gentlemen. His Royal Highness feeding off the atmosphere here, the real buzz in the air, as we have what is, without any doubt, the greatest lineup in a women's half marathon ever assembled, ready to go here in Ras Al Khaimah. And away they go then. This small but incredibly high quality field of elite ladies athletes. Mary Kaitani knows this course full well. I should mention, of course, that the course has changed slightly. About 90% of it is the same as in previous years. This start-finish area, of course, is on the other side of the lagoon, the opposite side of the lagoon from the first 10 editions of this event. But for all intents and purposes, the course is pretty much identical. Indeed, talking to 1 or 2 people, They've said it's actually possibly slightly faster because the shelter from the wind in one or two sections is a little bit more sympathetic than in previous years or previous versions of the course. Well, the two pacemakers are leading the ladies out. 72 is Timothy Kimeli, 73 Jeffrey Kipyego. And they are tasked with going out at 66-minute tempo. So these athletes, of course, train for months in isolation and live a monastic lifestyle for their few outings on the roads. And they will not want to waste this opportunity in just about perfect conditions. Rob Walker, who you heard earlier on the public address system, has joined me here in the commentary box. And Rob, this is a very small ladies' field, but perhaps that intensity of competition that we've been talking about will keep them together for a good section of the race. Well, there you can see the athletes have just passed the 3K marker, and I got it at about 9:21, so they certainly did slow down quite substantially for that third kilometre, and that's perfect. It gets them back on schedule for something around 66 minutes. It means that although they haven't run in the most conservative way to the 3 kilometre point, it means that they have had a slight breather, so to speak. That third kilometre, I think, has been run in around 3:16, 3:17. So they've gone, and these aren't official, by the way, these times, but about 3:08. The second kilometre, I have at about 2:56, 2:57, and then about a 3:14. So it's a little bit up and down, so to speak, but good to see just about all the ladies there. Well, I missed the 4 kilometre marker, but they are approaching the 5 kilometre marker now, and that is the one that most scholars of the sport of distance running will be paying most attention to. Spread across the road, 5 or 6 abreast, suggests that there is no wind in the faces of these ladies and that they're relatively comfortable with the tempo now that it's settled down a little bit. The first 2 kilometres were very quick indeed. And there you can see the start line with the masses ready. And the elite men on the front rank, they're very, very nervous, keen to get underway, hoping the wind doesn't come up. They are nervous, and of course the nerves are a good thing, but let's have a look at the elite field. It's a small, very high-caliber elite field. In particular, let's look at Solomon Yego. He wears number 2, the world number 1 last year. Bidan Karoki, the world championship silver medalist. He wears number 8. They both are Kenyan. And indeed, Augustine Choga, another Kenyan here, who has a great range, world-class on the track, finding his road racing legs. They're about to go. And away they go, set off by His Highness Sheikh Saud bin Sakr Al-Kazimi, ruler of Ras Al Khaimah, on this dead flat course. Such an exciting race in prospect. The pacemakers have been tasked to go out at 59-minute pace exactly, and that is not very far shy of the world record. The calibre of this men's field is extremely strong. 7 men in the field with personal bests below 60 minutes. Although we are guaranteed a fresh champion. Nobody in this field today has ever won this race. We do have athletes who, of course, have placed second here. And Guse Amloso of Eritrea was second in 2014. Daniel Wanjiru of Kenya was second here the following year in 2015.
As we once again return our attention to the leading elite women. 15:40 at 5K, so it's not quite world record pace, Tim, but it's still very, very fast.
Yes, it is. It's almost exactly on 66-minute tempo. If they were going around in 307, 308 per kilometre, that is pretty much spot on. 15:40 for 5K, so it is quick. And 1 or 2 of those ladies will be under pressure. 1 or 2 of them will be very comfortable. And 4 or 5 of them will be feeling so-so, I suspect, at this pace, because it is, for many of them, a personal best tempo that's being laid down. And it's at times like this, when your resolve is tested. Have you done the training? Have you done the hard work? Have you put in the miles, the right balance of speed and endurance? because if you overextend yourself this early in the race, I mean, they're only just at, what, about 5.5 kilometers now. If you overextend yourself this early, then you will have a very, very tough morning at the races.
Well, we saw Sungong having a little bit of a bad patch just in those early stages in the yellow vest. She looks like she's focusing and working hard. So too does Peres Chepchirchir. Chepchirchir is the reigning world half marathon champion. She's slightly obscured behind Timothy Kimeli, the pacemaker wearing 72. But all the main protagonists are there. But this is quick, Tim. As you said, it's not quite as quick for some of the 3,500 who will be enjoying the atmosphere and savouring this 11th edition of the Ras Al Khaimah Half Marathon. It's not all about the fast times and national records. A lot of money being raised for local, national and international charities. And a fair smattering of visitors have travelled from overseas. Such is the growing reputation and the growing appeal of this race. Sure, His Highness and all the dignitaries will be enjoying these inspirational moments. And there he is, the patron of the event and of the race, giving a big wave to all those going across the start line. Just another indication, Tim, of how big mass participation distance running is getting, not just in Britain and Europe, but all over the world.
Well, we are looking at the masses pouring through the start line, and now we can take a look at the map here in Ras Al Khaimah as the circuit which circumnavigates the lagoon. And as you can see, it's long, straight stretches from the clock roundabout. They head down Kuzam Road. They take a right here and head down past the Tower Links Golf Club in this dogleg, where they take a left sharp turn at 7K, back up that extension of Kuzam Road onto the main part of Kuzam Road, alongside the lagoon, with that little section added in recently to make up the distance, back up in a northerly direction now alongside the lagoon. And this is where their course is long and fast and dead flat, very, very straight indeed, under the RAK bridge, back towards the finish line, next to the Zayed Mosque, and back to the men's race. And this does look quick, Rob. We'll bring you splits as quickly as we can, but there is no hanging about there. And when you actually break down how quickly these athletes are moving per kilometre or for each 5 or 10 kilometre section, it is frightening.
Oh, I mean, for the average layman, this would be the equivalent of sprinting for a bus for 50 metres or 100 metres. It's absolutely breathtaking. And occasionally you find that television pictures somehow make it look a little easier than it actually is. This is flat out sprinting for most decent distance runners, let alone those who usually go out for a jog. I got a glimpse there of Ngusi Amlason, the Eritrean. He was up near the front, a big group of elite men here as we return our attention to the elite women's race. And Peres Chepchirchir, the one tucking closest to the pacemakers, Kimeli on the left, 72, and Kipyego on the right. And also still running well, Tim, is the 23-year-old Jocelyn Chepkoskai.
Yeah, well, the gaps are beginning to appear, aren't they? 23.5 minutes on the clock. And that little trio in the back of Jemima Sungom in orange, the Olympic champion in the marathon, and Tironesh Dibaba just behind her with the flowing ponytail, very easy to pick out. Just that little gap of a few meters. Tucked in behind them there is Mary Kaitani behind that leading trio, as we see the GPS tracking of the elite ladies. 13.5K to go. By the way, just some information on the men's race, because I know there's people watching on the internet all over the world who will be interested in this. The first kilometre was 2:51. Remember, they were looking for 2:47s to go out at 59 tempo. 2:51, then they went at 2:48, followed by a third kilometre in 2:48. The predicted time at that stage was 59:25, so they weren't far off schedule. The fourth kilometre, they hit it right at 2:47, which put them onto 59:15 tempo. So here are the men again, going through 5K in, 14:01 I got it more or less there, Rob.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's inside the hour. And although we've had some sparkling performances from the men, the last couple of years, the emphasis seems to have been on really lightning quick finishes rather than lightning quick times. As we get a glimpse of the masses streaming round this course. Remember, we've got a brilliant team relay going on. And there are battles to be the #1 finisher from the UAE. We've got veteran races going on. We've got prizes for the best youngsters.
Well, there is Choge in the orange vest, and the predicted finishing time, as they have 15.5 minutes on the clock, is 59:51, just inside the hour. You can see there that blue dot in the middle of the picture is where they are. They're just heading down towards, with the golf course there on their left. In fact, they should be just about past 6K now, with 17:15 on the clock. Slight downhill here. They might have put in a quicker kilometre here. It'll be interesting to see if this 6th and 7th kilometres do pick up the tempo a little bit. The elite women coming up to 10 kilometres now. 31:07, the official clocking for the ladies at 10K.
Oh, this is good. Kaitani, 3 times a winner of Ras Al Khaimah in the red vest, just obscured behind Jeffrey Kipyega is Peres Chepchirchir, the reigning world half marathon champion, and alongside them, the 23-year-old Joycelyn Chepkosgei, who's only been in serious training, Tim, for 2 years, coached by her husband. She's looking really good here. We have to keep half an eye on the clock for Tirinish Dibaba. Remember, there's an Ethiopian national record at stake if she runs 66:14. So it is turning out to be a great race, but not all of the big 4 are up at the front.
Very interesting to see Kaitani in such good shape. She is a real force, isn't she? 35 years old now, Kaitani there in that pink, or is it a red top? And by any standards, one of the greats, the 2nd fastest woman in history, a 3-time winner here. Only 9th in the London Marathon in April, remember, last year, and after falling very heavily, she wanted to prove a point, and she did when she went back to New York in November and took her 3rd New York title in 2 hours, 24 minutes, but nothing can compensate for missing out on the Olympics. And of course, if you go back to 2012, Rob, Mary was 4th there, as she found out later on, had been running a few weeks pregnant at the London Olympics, and still finished in 4th place in the marathon, which in itself was remarkable. But it's horrific to think that an athlete of her caliber, that with the consistency she's shown for years after year, might finish without an Olympic medal. Well, these are perfect conditions, whatever tempo you're moving at. And many of these athletes, if not the majority, will have a target time in mind, an objective. And I think in these conditions, the majority of them will hit it. It's an overcast day in Ras Al Khaimah, so often through the middle part of the morning, the temperature climbs when the sun is out to something that is far from conducive to quick running. So, Rob, both races building really nicely, and the men at the moment threatening records.
Well, that is amazing, because that world record from Zerzane Tadesse from Lisbon, 58:23, we thought it would be a long, long time before anybody got close to that one. The late Sami Wanjiru is certainly an athlete we thought who might get close, and sadly, of course, no longer around. But this is a brutal injection of pace from Beaton Kuroki. Even Kenneth Keita, the pacemakers, having to really work here. And Kuroki keeps on looking behind. I think he might actually be talking to Kenneth Keita. In fact, he is. Kuroki, in the few times we've seen him close up, Tim, has looked behind him at least 5 or 6 times. He's got Solomon Yago immediately behind, and he's a class athlete, the 4th fastest in history with 58:44. And even he's on course for a lifetime best. That's the stats as far as Kenneth Keita is concerned. 13 is Yigrem Demelash, who just missed a medal in the Olympics over 10,000 meters last year. But Beaton Kuroki is really putting the cat among the pigeons here. Could we see an attack on Tadesse's world record?
Well, they've just gone through 10K in about 27.55. There it is, 27.52 at 10 kilometers here in Ras Al Khaimah. Well, 27.52, the official time at 10 kilometers. They've gone through 11K there. Didn't get an exact split for that, but it doesn't look to me like there's been any great letting up in this aggressive tempo. 11K, the 11th kilometre, 2:47 on top of 27.50. So what does that make it? 11K in 30:37?
And look now, Tim, Augustine Choge, for the first time, hitting the front, glancing over his shoulder. A confident move, considering how fast they're already running. This is looking good for Choge.
And single file here as they negotiate this roundabout. Just looking at the splits from Zerzne Tadesse, the world record holder. When he went through 10K in his world record, he ran 27.53. Well, they've gone through today in 27.52. Kaitani in the ladies' race. Let's go back to them. We haven't seen them for quite a while. 46.30 at 15K. And we'll just check the graphs and see what the sort of tempo that puts them on. Kaitani, 46.30. Well, I have them there, in that case, heading for something around, again, about 65.40. So they are well inside 66-minute tempo.
And that's incredible, Tim, when you think only 3 women have run inside 66 minutes. The top 3 in the world, the world record is 65.09 with Kiplagat. Kaitani's run 65.50. That was here in 2011, but what a great run from Perez Chepchirchir. So she's leading at the moment alongside the pacemaker Jeffrey Kipyego, and Kaitani in second place in the race, with a few more meters opening up to Joycelyn Chepkoskai, wearing 61 in third. But Perez Chepchirchir, if she keeps going here, she's on course for a massive personal best, Tim. Her lifetime best set here last year when she was 4th in 66.39.
And this is a very significant point, because Perez Chepchirchir just beginning to wrestle control of the race from the pacemaker and try to turn the screw and put pressure on Kaitani there in second place. And questions being asked of the former world record holder, the event record holder Mary Kaitani. Remember, we can't really call her 65.50 the course record, because the course has changed this year slightly. But Kaitani is being tested here, make no mistake, and Perez Chepchirchir must know that. She must be aware of it. She'll have caught a view of Kaitani out of the corner of her eye. Joycelyn Chepkoskai in the background, really beginning to struggle now. I think there's been a surge here from Perez Chepchirchir. Well, 17K has come and gone for the ladies. 13 kilometers has come and gone for the men. And their time at 13K, the men, by the way, 58.55. That puts them on schedule still. That's the, that's the time that's predicted, 58.55. Their 13th kilometer was at 2:52. The 12th kilometre at 2:49, so they're not quite hitting those 2:47s, but they still are on schedule for something inside 59 minutes, and that is very, very rare indeed. 38 minutes, 38 and a half minutes on the clock for the elite men. There they are, top left of picture, just coming into view. And the 15-kilometre time for Tadesse, although it's 3 or 4 minutes away, was 41.33. in Lisbon back in 2010. Talking to him earlier on last year, he said the wind was very strong on that day and there was relatively poor pacing as well when he set the world record of 58.23. But here is this leading quartet. Trio behind. Well, it includes 10 there. Edwin Kipyego, 15. Shadrach Kiminin-Corrier, who's a birthday boy. He's 21 today. Is Shadrach Kiminin-Corrier. Doesn't look like he's going to get the present of a victory on his 21st. Hugh Jones there, former London Marathon winner in the yellow. On the bike is one of the 2 course measurers who were out the night before last, ensuring that the course was accurately measured with all the small adjustments that have been made this year. And 2, Solomon Yago, the world number 1 last year, although he was only broken 60 minutes on 1 occasion, Rob. Very, very consistent half marathon specialist who won 5 of his 8 races, for example, in 2012. Interesting to see him hit the front. I think the pace might have settled down a little bit.
Yeah, he's an interesting athlete, Yago, because that 58.44 in Ostia last year was a lifetime best by 1 minute and 20 seconds. And certainly, judging on the pace he produces over the half marathon, you would have thought, in theory, he should be able to obliterate his marathon PB of 2:08.31. He set that when he was 3rd in Prague last year. He's won 4 of his last 5, and he's certainly looking pretty good at the moment. Now, with the women's race, Tim, this is a break here from Perez Chepchirchir, and Kaitani is really having to hang on here. Chepchirchir, well, is this the definitive bid to outstrip Kaitani and deny her a 4th RAK title?
Well, she's trying desperately to hang on. She's already got the gap as Chepchirchir. That is Chepchirchir. That is so important. Psychologically, that elastic band has now probably snapped because that is quite a big gap. Look, you can see there, 20 meters between Chepchirchir and Mary Kaitani as they turn at the northernmost point of the course, and they now face the long, long run down alongside the RAK Lagoon with the lagoon on their left. That turn is at about 18.5 kilometers. Chepchirchir very much back to full power. It's great to see. She had an astonishing 2016 year of racing. Just went to the well one time too many when she got to Delhi last November, and she was well beaten there. 6th in Delhi, in fact. But this is Chepchirchir, perhaps the name for the future. She's only 23, her lifetime best 66.39 when she was 4th last year here in Ras Al Khaimah. Surely that time is going to be improved, but Kaitani isn't finished. Deep, deep concentration, hunched shoulders there from the little athlete in pink, trying desperately to get back to her compatriot. Back to the men then. And Karoki it is who has hit the front again. I thought the pace was slackening a little bit, but he's picked it up. They got to 15K with a 2:56. Still on about 59-minute tempo, 42.05. Well, remember Macau, I said at, not Macau, Tadesse during his world record was 41.33. So 42.05 does put them some way outside world record tempo. I don't think we should be worrying about the world record now so much as the wonderful race that is unfolding. And Karoki has got the gap. He's easing away and trying desperately to cover that gap. It is Choge, Augustine Choge, leading the chasing trio. But Karoki now is a very wily racer, Rob. We talked earlier about his track and his cross-country and his road credentials. And he will be aware now that he's got that 6 or 7 yards, and he will start really turning the screw. If there's ever a time where he should make it tell, it's now. Karoki, another nervous little glance over his shoulder. He's really racing here as he's thinking about this. How is he going to work it out?
I wanted to ask you this question earlier, Tim. It didn't have the opportunity to, but we do now. Time and again, Karoki has looked over his shoulder as Augustine Choge now comes right alongside him and actually moving past. When you look over your shoulder, don't you send a message of weakness to the guys behind you that you've got, that maybe you're getting anxious? And Karoki has sent that signal back to Augustine Choge by looking behind him.
61.40 at 20K for the ladies there. And Perez Chepchirchir has got that gap. There's a grimace on that forehead, though. She's working very hard here. She's got the gap. And Mary Kaitani, top right of picture, I don't know if you saw it just then. She had a little glance over her shoulder. And that's very telling. 61.40 at 20K.
Well, Tim, if it is as quick as that, it could be the 2nd fastest time in history. The 2 best performances have come from the same woman on the same course. Florence Kiplagat ran 65.12 in Barcelona in 2014 and then shaved 3 seconds off that time the following year, also on the same course, with 65.09. This is a very, very good run indeed from Perez Chepchirchir. And actually, Mary Kaitani's not running too far outside what was then a world record performance here in Ras Al Khaimah in 2011 was 65.50. This has been absolutely brutal and relentless from Chepchirch here. Wow. I know she's the world half marathon champion, but bearing in mind the time she's running and the women she's leaving trailing in her wake, this could be her greatest ever performance over 13.1 miles.
Albeit less of a surprise than her win in Cardiff last year. She's a delightful young lady. She really is quite expansive when you can sit and chat with her and get her attention. She comes from a farming family. I asked her last year what was her childhood like. She said, well, my father was a good farmer, so we ate well. We were always okay. And she is more than a good runner and is going to take home big prize money with the win that looks to be heading her way now. And the young lady, Perez Jepchirchir, the reigning world half marathon champion, has the world of half marathon running at her feet. She said back in November in Delhi, Rob, didn't she, that she was thinking of running a marathon later on this year. She hasn't come out and stated where yet. She's not down to do a spring marathon as far as I'm aware, but surely the world of marathon running will be battling for her attention now as she comes through the 21-kilometre line. Is that 64.56? Mary Kaitani is rallying. She's desperately trying to get there, but here comes the champion. And look at the time, 65.06. And that could be the world record is 65.09. We might have just seen a world record. It came at us so suddenly.
I think
we've just seen the world record broken.
Incredible from Perez Jepchirchir. The best time we've ever seen from a woman is Florence Kiplagat, 65.09, and you can see what that's taken out of Perez Jepchirchir. We have witnessed history here on the 11th edition of the Ras Al Khaimah Half Marathon. His Highness is delighted, and so are all the crowds who have turned out here.
Well, we knew this was a historic field. The makeup of that quartet that we've talked about for some time was quite extraordinary, and Perez Jepchirchir has not disappointed. She's certainly moved on in ability from last year, but back to this men's race now. And Augustin Choge has not only caught Karaoke, but wrestled control of the race from Karaoke. And as I say that, so Karaoke says, oh no you don't. Bidan Karaoke, the 26-year-old with a best of 59.14. That was in Copenhagen in September 2015. Hits the front again. It's single file once more. It's almost cycling style now, the way this lead is changing. He won his first 3 half marathons that he ever ran. They were back in 2014 and won his debut in Lisbon in 2014 in 59.58. He's very familiar with sub-60 territory. Boy, oh boy, he's only run 6 halves, and he's broken 60 minutes in 5 of them. He gets it right again and again, and for that he deserves enormous credit. These men are not machines. We have to remember that. They're human beings. They train hard, but they have all the same frailties as the majority of us.
Yeah, it's been an extraordinary day here in Ras Al Khaimah. We knew that the temperature and the conditions were good. We knew that we had a brilliant leading quartet in the women's race, but you can never dare to assume there might be a world record. Well, where the women have delivered, the men have also lived up to their billing. And the significance here is that not only is Bidan Karaoke leading, Demelesh is in second, and for the first time, we've seen a moment of weakness from Augustin Choge. He's still running really well. Remember, he's very early in his relationship with half marathon running, having had a win in Philly last year and then a fabulous 3rd place in Delhi with 60.01. But Choge now is struggling as Karaoke begins to turn the screw. But can the Ethiopian, Demelesh, hang on to his coattails and spoil Karaoke's finish?
Well, this is a very, very tough period for Augustin Choge. He's still new to this event. We've got to remember this is only his 3rd ever half marathon, his 2nd one of international class, frankly. And he's done 95% of the job. But here is the man with the distance in his legs from many years, Bidan Karaoke. And critically, with 55.5 minutes on the clock, he ups the tempo. It's almost like he's hit the bell in a 10,000-meter race. Checks his clock there, checks his own watch, and ups the pace. And he's really asking the questions to Rigam Demelesh. Remember Bidan Karaoke, second in the World Half Marathon Championships last year in March in Cardiff, behind Jeffrey Camworraw, his compatriot. Well, Camworraw's not here, and he maybe feels this has got to be my day after Cardiff. He's also a man, of course, who has done so much on the track in great 10,000-metre races. He's been out-sprinted again and again, and he doesn't want to be out-sprinted here today. 20K, 56.10 in the men's race. And Bidan Karaoke has timed this surge, this final gut-wrenching charge for the line to perfection, because Demelash is wilting. Choge, even further back, has wilted. Surely there's no way back for them now, as this man who is so good on the track, remember, fourth in the World Championships in Beijing in 2015 in 27.04. He's second in the world cross-country 2 years ago. Seventh in Rio over 10,000 metres. Again and again, he's been there, so close to a medal, but has been out-sprinted on the track. Well, he's making no mistake here.
This is a fantastic performance from Karaoke, and it seems measured and it seems controlled. We've seen him looking over his shoulder time and time again in the middle part of the race. And after finishing just behind Jeffrey Camworraw in China 2 years ago at the World Cross and last year at the World Half Marathon Championships, and having just missed out on a medal in Beijing, as you said, Tim, he's been really consistent over 10,000 metres on the track, but never quite managed to get on the podium. This is a very, very big, significant day in the career of Bidan Karaoke. You can't say it's the greatest performance we've ever seen, because he's a World Championship medalist on two different surfaces. But this indicates he's a big name to consider, not only on the roads over the half marathon, but maybe one day having a crack at the marathon and being a big contender. He's taking some huge scalps here, and he's doing so in style.
Well, his 20th kilometre was a 2:45. That's the acceleration he's pushed in. Remember, plenty of their splits have been 2:52, 2:50 through this second half of the race. 58:15 on the clock. The predicted time 3 or 4 minutes ago was 59:17. So he's got about a minute of running to do. Demelash in second place there. Back in third place still is Choge. Another fabulous run from him, although it looks like he might fill the same position that he filled in Delhi last November. But Karaoke, with that jolting, bouncy style of his, a little glance over his shoulder as he comes into sight of the finish line now. It's going to be quick. No world record in the men's race, remember. That world record of Tadesse, 58.23, but it's going to be mighty fast. The course record of Patrick Macau, 58.52, has just clicked by. But here he comes now. Bidan Karaoke, the 26-year-old Kenyan, set a personal best 18 months ago in Copenhagen, wins in RAK in 2017, and look at the clock, 59.10 there unofficially for Bidan Karaoke. It is a personal best for him by some 3 or 4 seconds. And again, he's out on his feet. Well done, Bidan Karaoke. A brilliant, brilliant run, an enthralling race there. Let's see the guys in second and third.
Massive PB for Demelash in second place, as we watch the rest of the athletes coming home, trying to work out whether Choge produced a lifetime best. I think he did, so he's inside the hour for the very first time and still improving. But what a performance from Bidan Karaoke to produce a lifetime best against a world-class field. That looks like it's Ngugi Amlason coming home. Just a shade outside 60 minutes, so another good performance from him.
Well, Rob, the time's just coming through. 59.10 for Bidan Karaoke there. The quickest time in the world this year, of course, by some 50 seconds. But in second place, Yigrem Demelash, 59.19, 9 seconds down. And in third place, a massive personal best for Augustin Choge, 59.26. RAK serves up its magic once again. But that was a brilliant, brilliant run. Perfectly judged from Bidan Karaoke, who did far more than his fair share of the leading as well. He really contributed to the battle throughout the race. And then, when it was needed, had the power and speed endurance to ease away to victory.
Right here, Bidan, right
After the two astonishing races, we caught up with the captain Cliff Brand, general manager of Saka Port, the presenting sponsor for the day, as well as the chairman of the executive organising committee, Nasser Mradad. And we asked them what this means to the burgeoning emirate of Ras Al Khaimah.
Well, it really puts Ras Al Khaimah on the map, and it gives the opportunity for a lot of athletes to join us here in RAK, and a lot of participants and spectators. And it's getting better year by year, so it's great to be here, and it's great to be in RAK.
Why does Saka Port continually, help and sponsor this race?
Well, it's such a prestigious race, and we take great pleasure in being the sponsor, in conjunction with the government of Ras Al Khaimah, and we look forward to it on an annual basis. It's just going from strength to strength.
How do you feel, living here in RAK, that the whole opportunities, the business is evolving and developing?
Yeah, it's going very well. Again, it's going from strength to strength. Tourism is increasing, industry is increasing, and you only need to look around you and you can see the development which is ongoing. When I first came here, the logo I first seen was Ras Al Khaimah to Rising Emirate, and it certainly is.
How do you think events like this race, bring people together from all different aspects of the UAE?
Yeah, it is. We have a lot of nationalities here, and everybody comes together for the day. We all get on together, and we live in a great emirate, in a great country.
After 11 years, year by year, we are enjoying, we are happy. When Sheikh Saud coming here and see our marathon, and everybody talking about our marathon, this for me is something. Look, 3,600 athletes being in this competition. This is something for Ras Al Khaimah. And today also we have a new record called Lady. This give the name of Ras Al Khaimah somewhere.
Well, Tim, down here at the finish, as we still have some very good international and club athletes coming home well inside 80 minutes. We are edging closer to the presentation, and as I say that, His Highness Sheikh Saud bin Saka Al Qasimi steps forward on this great day, his birthday, and a world record-setting day as well. And our first presentation is for the first three elite women. In third place, what a great performance from a young woman from whom we will hear much more in the future, Joyceline Chepkoskai. A massive lifetime best for the 23-year-old who's only been competing internationally for 2 years. She will stay up on the presentation area. And our runner-up, coming back from having a baby, a brilliant performance and a lifetime best for Mary Kaitani. And the champion, already the World Half Marathon champion, now the World Half Marathon record holder. What a run from Peres Chepchirchir. Just extraordinary. An absolutely sensational performance there from Chepchirchir, Kaitani and Chepkoskai. Jemima Sumgong was fourth and Tiranish Dababa fifth. 5 women inside 67 minutes, and we had that all-important world record as well.
Not just winning, but, possibly a world record, right? I mean, how do you feel about that?
I'm feeling good because I was not expecting to run a world record, but I've made it. I'm so happy.
How do you like Ras Al Khaimah and the race here in Ras Al Khaimah?
The race was good. I like it because even last year I ran my PP here. Going whole races on 2016, there's no race I ran under 66 like this RAK. So I'm happy for this race. It's a nice race for improvement of time. It's so nice course.
While the women's race was spectacular and the men's race was just as good. Our bronze medalist, a brilliant track athlete with a massive lifetime best over the half marathon. There's so much more to come from Augustine Choge. 59.26. A really quick time. And the runner-up, just 23 years of age from Ethiopia, just missed a medal at the Olympics last year over 10,000. What a run from Yigrem Demelash. 59.10. And the winner, World Half Marathon silver medalist, World Cross Country silver medalist, but the winner here in Ras Al Khaimah in a new lifetime best, 59.10 for Bidan Kuroki.
How was the race for you?
Actually, I can say the race was very good. Also, the course was very fantastic. The guys who are pacing were very good. So it is easy to run good time. For winning today, I'm very happy.
Do you prefer marathons or half marathons?
I have been doing half marathon, but marathon will be my first time here.
Now the eyes of the world will be looking on you, right?
Sure. Actually, it's have encouraged me. I'm in a good shape, so it's just maintaining.
The athletes are continuing to pour towards the finish line. It's getting lovely and warm here in Ras Al Khaimah, especially for those of us more acclimed to European temperatures at this time of year. Excellent performances here. And really good to see so many people turning out to support this race. It is, without doubt, one of the world's premier half marathons. And today we have seen history.
Well, the thousands in the mass race and in the relay, of course, as well, out on the roads of Ras Al Khaimah. But talk about standing on the shoulders of giants. Well, they are running in the wake of superstars today. With Perez Jepchirchir, let me just remind you, running 65 minutes and 6 seconds and breaking the world record.
Well, I'm delighted to say that Tim has hot-footed it from the commentary position to join us up here where we started a few hours ago. And Tim, as I said before the race began, we can sometimes be prone to over-exaggeration, us enthusiastic distance running fans. We thought this would be a special day, and it really has been.
It has, yeah, and in fact, I feel a bit of a killjoy because over the last couple of days, so many people have asked about the possibility of a world record, and I've played it down because you set yourself up for disappointment and almost failure if you start talking about records or world records, and it's 99% of the time it doesn't happen. You know, you sit on the track scene all the time. But indeed, this morning has delivered on just about every front. I mean, the crowds are gathering here, and as we speak, they're getting bigger and bigger. Really good numbers, wonderful entry numbers too for the mass races. But the elite athletes have turned up here in shape. They've wintered well. Many of them focused on marathons to come in Boston and London and Paris and so on. But the quality of racing here today was unprecedented. I suspect anywhere ever there has not been a women's race of this caliber combined with a men's race of that caliber, with the racing thrown in as well. Never mind about the times against the clock.
I know, and we've obviously spent a lot of time, and rightly so, talking about Perez Jepchirchir, but a massive lifetime best for Mary Kaitani, now in her mid-30s, coming back from having a baby. Jepchirchir dragged the rest of the field to great performances. Tirunesh Dibaba was fifth. She ran inside 67 minutes as well. It was an extraordinary performance, and not just from the winner.
No, exactly right. I mean, it was an incredibly competitive women's race, but the pace was so quick from early on that when you saw women peeling off the back of that pack, perhaps mid-race, they were still heading for very, very strong times. You know, under 67 minutes is spectacularly fast, and yet, of course, Tirunesh had to let go with 7 or 8 kilometres to run.
And a word on the men. Bidan Kuroki with a lifetime best, but PBs as well for Demelash, 59.19, and Augustine Choge running inside 59.30 for third. Brilliant performances, and we had 4 under 60 minutes.
And what I loved about that win from Bidan Karaoke was the fact that he did so much of the work for it. You know, I think most distance runners appreciate application and guts and drive and determination. And tactical races are all very well, but the quality that I like to admire most of all, perhaps, is bravery, the ability to go out in front and push the pace very, very strongly for a long, long time. And he did that today. He contributed so much to that win.
Well, Tim, it has been a pleasure sitting alongside you in the commentary box and chatting pre and post race. I know you'll be back for the 2018 edition of Ras Al Khaimah. Thanks very much for your company. Meanwhile here, as you can hear, the party will continue for a couple of hours to come. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here on the 2017 edition of Ras Al Khaimah, come and join this party. It has once again re-established itself as the world's leading half marathon. It's been an absolute privilege to be here. We have today witnessed history here in Ras Al Khaimah. The party will continue for another couple of hours, but from everybody here working on this year's edition of the race, thanks for watching. See you next time.
It was fantastic, one of the best half marathons I've done.
Every South African's dream because it's very flat.
It's very nice track. It was great.
We're supporting my husband, the children's dad. He's gone past once, we're just waiting for him to finish.
Lovely, fantastic, awesome event. One of the best in the UAE.
The procedure is you pre-validate the course by 2 different measurers. So I measured it back in September. I measured it again a couple of days ago with John, who's my backup, you know, and so we've sort of validate each other. And once that's done, there's no need to go back. You just have the photographic proof that, you know, they ran where we measured.
We enjoyed every minute of it. The crowd, the competitors.
Fantastic course, great time, great temperature, great company. Everything just sort of worked today, everything was perfect.
Great, everything great.
And in just a shade over 3 hours 47 minutes, this truly historic edition, he completes this year's Ras Al Khaimah Half Marathon.
And on the way to that new world record time, 3 seconds faster than the previous record, she also broke the 20-kilometre world record. So quite a day today, and of course being the event patron Sheikh Saud's birthday, double birthday gift for him and Ras Al Khaimah as well.
I'm very happy to do it. This is my 4th year. I'm very excited. I come from Abu Dhabi every year.
Well done to the organizers. I will be back next year, definitely.